Welcome to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
Simon, welcome. It's good to have you back, sir. It's been far too long. It's only been a week, but I've missed you already, Simon. I know.
Likewise, Baxter.
I miss you when I'm not with you, Simon. I enjoy our banter. I enjoy everything that is Two Up Front with you. So
love talking soccer.
I'm not a one striker kind of guy, Simon. I need a supporting striker. So
there you go.
It works out well. So welcome in studio, all of you tuning in. We appreciate it. We are broadcasting live in South Milwaukee at Moran's Pub. So a big shout out to James Moran. You'll remember him a few weeks ago when we were at the Milwaukee Barons tailgate at Mailer Park. James was talking about the movement to bring professional soccer to Milwaukee, and also the Milwaukee Barons support group, as well as they were trying to start the initiative. But James is also part of the Milwaukee Soccer Development Group as well, and doing a lot of fantastic things for the inner city children in Milwaukee to try to bring soccer to them, but also enhance the game of soccer also. So we will be hearing from him a little bit later on in the show, and also our new good friend Lati as well. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, but I'm
sure he'll tell us.
I'll have him do it. They will be part of our dual hometown spotlight. It's weird, Simon. We're here broadcasting, talking about soccer, but the NFL preseason Packers game is on the TVs in front of us. So we're mixing football with football tonight. But as you listen to this show, we'll do our best to keep it just soccer specific and stray to, unless there's a really good play, then we'll obviously have to talk about it.
they're already got their starters out, so
they do. It's late third quarter by this point. Nobody really cares, but we do care about your listenership and your following us on social media, which you can follow us where, Simon, on social media?
On Facebook, we are Two Up Front, and on Twitter, we are at Two Up Front Soccer. Of course, you can follow each of us on Twitter as well. You are at Baxter Colburn, and I am at Simon Provan. Pretty simple in that respect.
We try to keep it easy. It keeps it easy for us to find each other. It keeps it easy for you to find us, the listener as well. And you can find us on Fridays from 3 to 6 Eastern on Sports Radio America, Live 365, and Tune In. You can also listen to us on demand anytime at Spreaker.com, on iHeartRadio, and on iTunes as well. So we have an exciting show for you today. We're going to be talking U.S. Open Cup. Our new power rankings are out. Weird stuff is happening in Manchester. We're going to try to talk about that as well. But our hometown spotlight, that was something that we're excited about today, Simon. So we're going to get ready to move into that.
We are. And in fact, Baxter, I grew up right down not the block, but the next city over. I grew up in Cudahy, Wisconsin.
You did, yes.
And Cudahy and South Milwaukee, big-time rivals when it comes to sports.
Ooh.
So I'm actually feeling a little uncomfortable being in South Milwaukee.
You can do the interview if you want. You're going to get too heated.
I'm saying I think I'll step out of the
you think so?
The headset to kind of. No, I'm kidding. Actually, no. We're excited about this first guest. Little family connection.
That's
my oldest brother actually coached our first guest in high school at South Milwaukee High. So we are happy to have him here. He's got a very interesting story, and we will get him here in the booth.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're getting excited. Our hometown spotlight is the part of the show where we try to feature somebody from the Wisconsin or Milwaukee area that is able to talk about their growth in the soccer world and just the experiences that they've had as well. So I'd like to welcome to the booth Lati. Lati, welcome, sir. Glad to have you here. Can you pronounce your last name for me? We were trying to figure it out and couldn't get to it.
My last name is Ziba.
Lati Ziba. Okay. Yes.
Z-I-B-A, very simple.
Z-I-B-A. Did anybody ever go with zebra just to mess with you?
No.
No?
But
okay.
when I pronounce it or I spell it out, I usually say, like zebra, but it's Ziba.
Ziba. Okay. We're just missing just a few things, but that's just, minor trivial things. But, Lati, I'm excited to have you on the show, so thank you, first of all, for being here. Give the listeners a little bit of background about who you are, where you've come from in your journey, and we'll kind of dive in a little bit more, too, about what you're doing now, especially with James Moran and Milwaukee Soccer Development. So
awesome. Again, I grew up in Macedonia,
really?
Eastern Europe.
Okay.
I'm Albanian. I grew up in Macedonia, but I'm Albanian, so... Anyway, I grew up playing soccer at an early age. I started playing when I was 6 years old. Just like every other kid in the neighborhood or in the city, soccer is a big part in Macedonia. Just playing every day after school, mostly street soccer. I played street soccer.
That's the way to do it, though.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, especially, you love
Definitely.
that.
I played street soccer all the way till I was 13, and then I was introduced to a local club.
Okay.
And then that's when I started to learn about different tactics and get the proper coaching and everything.
What position did you play?
I played center mid. Played every position, but my favorite position is center mid.
Okay. Do you have a specific reason why? I know center mids are sometimes they're just like, I just love to run. Just give me the ball. And sometimes everyone's got different opinions about being a center midfielder.
Well, the running part, that wasn't me.
No, were you more of a defensive? You'd hang back a little bit? Or?
I would say I was more attacking, but at the same time, I understood the defensive commitment and hard work it took.
Absolutely.
I've always been a team player, kind of. And I would say that I was very good in tight spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I was a player that could hit a 60, 70-yard ball, getting out of tight spaces, and then just looking for that option going forward. These were my strengths when I was playing, so I enjoyed that.
Very nice.
Going back and forth.
What brought you from Macedonia to the United States?
I united with my parents here. I came to U.S. when I was 16 years old. Basically a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
And I grew up without my parents. I was 6 years old when they came to U.S.
Wow.
And it just worked out that we were separated for a while, but then after about 10 years of hoping to come to America every year, saying, oh, it's going to happen this year, it's going to happen next year. Finally, when I was 16, so 10 years later,
cow.
the visa came through and I got my green card. And I came to U.S. and it was a culture shock.
Oh, I can imagine. Macedonia too. Did you come straight to Wisconsin, or where did you go?
Straight to Wisconsin.
Wow.
Milwaukee. And, when I was back home, I was thinking, U.S. was just this great place with a lot of opportunities. And that's how it's been. And I'm happy for that.
Well,
but
fantastic.
At the same time, in the beginning, I had a hard time, meeting new people and learning the language. So for 6 months, I remember my sophomore year, that second semester, I had a hard time, getting to know people and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't speak the language. But then it wasn't until, I kicked the first soccer ball that all of a sudden, everybody wanted to be my friend.
It's like, who is this guy? Wow.
Right. So, then junior year, I got involved in soccer, varsity soccer, played for South Milwaukee High School. I met some great friends there. We were playing club together, too. We played for Milwaukee Rampage and Simba Lions, which are local.
Oh, sure, yep.
Milwaukee Rampage, unfortunately, is not around anymore, but Simba Lions are definitely around, and they're doing great things for the kids in the community in north side of Milwaukee. So, but after that, you kind of you see what everybody else is doing, and as I got to meet more people, my teammates and people around me, they were thinking about going to college. And I'm like, oh, my God, now I got to think about college.
I was going to say, first of all, you're just trying to get to America,
right.
And then you have to go through high school, which is a culture shock no matter where you are.
Right.
And then, like you said, you're like, thinking about college, and you seem to be relatively good at soccer, so you played for South Milwaukee.
I did, yeah.
And you, Simon told us before you came on there's a bit of a connection, a family connection here.
His brother, Simon's brother, is Steve Provan. He was my high school coach.
Oh,
so
small world.
When I heard the last name, it was easy.
I feel like the Provan name is one of those names that just drifts around Milwaukee soccer. People are like, oh, sure.
No, definitely Steve was my favorite guy and still is now. But then he really helped me a lot. Obviously, with the language and all that stuff.
Yes.
He really made me feel comfortable getting into the team and starting me. And I remember I hit this one volley in practice, and he was telling other players that I was going to be good.
Well, that's what you want, obviously. With a coach behind you, that's definitely what you're going to want. And it obviously worked because then you took your talents 2 hours north of here to Green Bay.
Exactly. So, and like I said, there came a time when I had to think about college. And but to get to college, you got to pass the ACT and get a good grade. And
it's
all
not
this
as
stuff.
easy as just I'm really good at a sport. Well, you still got to do all the written academic part of it.
And I took the ACT 4 times, unfortunately.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I got 15 3 times in a row, and because I was surrounded by great people, great friends in high school, they were so committed, and it came to them so natural to think about college. So I was like, I might as well. Just kind of go with the crew and start thinking about this.
Absolutely.
So I was recruited by a lot of colleges around the country, but because of my scores, nobody would even give me a chance. And then finally, my 4th time was very dedicated in getting that done. I got 18, and then that's
Hey,
when,
there you go. And that was
Green
good enough
Bay
to get in then
to Green Bay. And lucky for me, I was a scholarship player.
Perfect.
I
So you were
went-
kind of good then, you know.
Yeah,
You kicked the ball once or twice
yeah,
before
yeah,
that.
definitely. And when I went to Green Bay was perfect fit for me,
Okay.
considering, you know, I was a small school. How should I say, like, you know, small school, you know, it was very family oriented.
It
We had
is,
very
yeah,
good
yeah.
team chemistry. My junior and senior year, I was the captain of the team.
Hey, congratulations.
But we were ranked 5th in the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
At that time, my junior year, we were 14-6. So I think for the 4 years that I played
Yeah.
at Green Bay, I think we were the best team in Wisconsin. I can
Hey,
easily
there you
say
go.
that. And
That's
I
a
was
good
proud
thing
of
to
that.
say. Yeah,
So-
Wisconsin's done a pretty good job as of recent producing higher quality soccer. I think at the collegiate level, and UW Oshkosh has done a great job of
Yeah.
producing, and other different
And
programs as
definitely
well.
Green Bay has produced some recent professional players like
Yeah.
J.C. Banks,
Yep.
who's also a Simba Alliance player. His father was also my coach, Jimmy Banks.
Oh, sure.
He's coaching at MSOE now, and he's involved with Simba Alliance
Yep.
with the youth. Tony Walls, who recently
Oh, sure.
graduated from Green Bay. He's playing for Rochester Arenos right now. To St. Ricketts, who I played with.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing out in, I know he was just in Israel, and then he went to Turkey.
Wow.
But he's also playing for Canadian national team. Joshua Ocampa out of Minnesota. He played in Germany professionally.
Okay.
And Daniel O'Brien, another guy out of Minnesota. He played in New Zealand. So, yeah, we created a pretty good
Yeah,
culture.
some pretty good players,
I went
yeah.
to Sweden right after college to try out professionally.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I wasn't given the contract that I wanted, so I decided to come back
Okay.
and finish school. And once I did then I was hoping for the same kind of opportunity to come the following year, and it didn't.
Okay.
So I started thinking about where am I going with my career, and, you know, getting older every year. That window is closing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I used, you know, soccer has helped me a lot in my life, and I used soccer as a tool to move forward, to open a lot of doors. And I got back involved with Green Bay under
Okay.
Coach Tom Poitras, who's at Hartford University now. He gave me a chance to become a graduate assistant.
Okay, that's
At Green
fantastic.
Bay,
Yeah,
and
that's a
that's
good
wh-
program to get into for someone
Yeah.
that's you've done the college aspect. You're like, I still want to be involved with the team. Graduate assistant is
and,
good to
and
keep
I
you
loved
around.
it. I loved it so much. Being in college was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just being with the guys every day, going to school, and just like we had
Absolutely.
no worries. It was just like soccer and
Yep.
school, soccer and
I
school.
feel that way too. I just graduated in May, and I played soccer for 2 years, and then I broke my foot, unfortunately. But
Well,
it was still though that feel though of being around the team, being at school, and having no worries. Just like
It's nothing
this
like
is-
it, man.
It's
I
a
know.
great. It's 4 of the best years of your life.
Yeah, for all the kids out there that are thinking about it, I strongly suggest it.
Absolutely.
To do whatever it takes to get to college, because once you get there, you get into an environment, especially Division I, and
Yes.
for sure Division II, and everybody. I mean, every school out there. But you get into an environment where you can advance your professional career,
Mm-hmm.
through the school, but also your playing career.
Exactly.
And you buy another 4 years. If you were not good enough at 18 to make it to the pros, you buy yourself another 4 years in college.
Exactly. To
And
perfect
it's-
your game to the best of
Right.
your abilities and say,
Right.
hey,
You're
this is
training
who I
every
am.
day.
This
You
is the
gotta-
product I've got.
You got a physical trainer, you got assistant coach, goalkeeping coach, head coach. I mean, there's nothing like it, and I really loved it. But then, when I got to be a graduate assistant, I really started to understand from the game from the coach's point of view.
And that's something I think a lot of players struggle with going through. Like, oh, I know everything from a player's perspective. Well, and then you're like, well, why is the coach saying that? Why is he making this change? And then,
Exactly.
like you said, you make that flip to a graduate assistant or just coaching as a whole, and you're like, oh, okay, I understand now.
Right.
3, 4, 5 years later, why this makes
And
sense.
now, if I had to give advice to somebody, I would definitely recommend, thinking what I'm thinking now is that the players should get involved in coaching earlier in their careers,
Okay.
because then it doesn't take you so long to
Yes.
understand what the coach is thinking, or because he wants to play a certain style and you're not part of that style, and you're mad, and all of a sudden that puts you even
I was
further
going to say
down.
that can cause conflict,
Yeah.
and then you're like, well, I don't understand why the coach is doing this, and then that can cause a rift between the player and the coach, and then the team as a whole suffers, especially if it's one of the better players, supposedly,
So I won a national championship with Croatian Eagles, local team here. Amateur Open Cup, and I was 25 years old.
Wow, congratulations.
And thank you. It wasn't because I was the fittest, because I felt like I was the fittest player I ever was when I was in college.
Okay.
But at 25, I had coaching experience and I had refereeing experience, and I could see the game.
So you had a pretty good package that you were delivering.
Yes, and then finally, you know, I knew what it meant at 25 years old. I knew what it meant tactically and technically to be playing, but also, like, I knew that at 25, if I didn't win that game, that championship game, at 25, at 26, I probably wasn't going to do it.
No, you at that point,
that much
and that's
more
the question
committed,
too:
you
is
know.
how much do you want to push your body? You know, like you said, I mean, you're married now, you've got a family, so
Yes.
you've got to start thinking long term. It's like, as much as people say, "Oh, soccer's my life," well, yes, within reason, but you need to do adult things as well, and you know, find a nice wife, find a have kids, stable job, everything of that nature. But which it seems that you've done very well so far, and that kind of leads us into
all through soccer.
Absolutely,
I met my wife through soccer too, so
it's good, you know. And everybody's got their own. Did she play soccer too?
no, she didn't, but she was a big fan of the team that I was playing for.
Oh, there you go.
And that team is called Albanian Stars Chicago.
Okay.
We just won indoor state league last year.
Fantastic.
We played against Adrian Chicago, and we ended up beating them. They had been winning their league for 12 years, and
holy
finally
cow!
we
You finally
yeah.
came in, all because of your center mid play, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll say
I don't
that.
know how much I
we'll
contributed to
say
that because now I'm not as active, but we had a pretty good team. So
absolutely. Well, now that you've made the transition, your playing days on a collegiate level are behind you. You're looking to give back, and you met James Moran, and you've done everything, and you've become very involved with Milwaukee Soccer Development Group and the mission that they're trying to do with the inner city kids. You mentioned to me before the show that you've got a few different projects that you guys are working on, and you're looking to help continue the growth. So why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
So the last 2 years I've been working at St. Anthony's School as a soccer director, and my job there was to oversee the soccer program.
Okay.
St. Anthony's School is the largest private Catholic school in the country.
Oh, wow, okay.
And 98% Hispanic population.
Wow.
So they love soccer.
Absolutely,
It's in the
What's
family,
not to love,
it's in the
right?
DNA. And my job was to build a program around the kids and make sure that they get, the physical activity, the health and wellness, promote diversity and all this stuff. So my programs were structured towards that. And then the other thing was, how do we get these programs to influence the kids so their grades are up, their discipline is up, behavior is better, and all that stuff. So my job was to oversee all that. And we created 8 teams from 1st through 8th grade, and then we're part of the WIAA and the high school boys and girls varsity.
Okay.
And when I met with James, I've known James and Milwaukee Soccer Development Group for the last 3 years since they started.
Okay.
I loved everything about it.
Absolutely.
I just was with
What's not to love? They've got such a fantastic mission.
Exactly. And I was with St. Anthony, so, I didn't want to chew too much. So finally I reached out to James and I said, James, I think that I'm ready to make a bigger impact. And that was being full-time with MSDG.
Yes.
And instead of just influencing one school, my goal was to be part of MSDG and do exactly what I did with St. Anthony School.
Wow.
With every school on the south side.
Okay.
So right now we have some exciting programs that are coming up.
Okay. Can you elaborate on a few of those at all? Or are you still in the works?
They're still in the works.
Fair enough.
They're
That's
coming up, I think by the deadline is September 1st. We'll have them on the website.
Okay.
msdgsoccer.com, and they'll be, we'll be all over Facebook. But they're going to be pretty exciting, and like I said, everything that I did at St. Anthony, now I feel like there is a bigger need in the community, in the Southside community, in the Northside community. So our goal is to work with underserved areas, of course, where we feel that there is a huge need, but nobody's really doing anything about it.
Which is good. That needs to be done because I feel like with soccer, it's such a, at least in the Midwest, like I come from Florida, I come from Naples, where the Hispanic population is huge. We love soccer down there. That people live and breathe soccer and football as well, but especially in Wisconsin, that's all it is. People talk about the Green Bay Packers, they talk a little bit about basketball, the Milwaukee Bucks, but there's no soccer team here for people to cling to.
Right.
And what you guys are doing is helping.
The biggest reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today with Milwaukee Soccer Development Group is because I can relate to the kids.
Absolutely.
I came from a different country, and through soccer, I figured my way
Yep.
in opening a lot of doors. and now was a soccer director full-time, making a good living from soccer, impacting kids. And now, like, when somebody is at that high school age, 16 years old, and it comes from, a hardworking family, and they're deciding whether they should go to college in Green Bay or Notre Dame, but they're saying, no, I have to take care of my family. I'd like to meet with those individuals and say, here's why you want to break away, because you can help your parents.
You can.
A little bit now, every week.
Yes.
Or you can go and get your education.
Exactly. Which is
and
going to
then
help
come back
long-term.
and help them out even bigger in a bigger capacity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's the idea. So my goal right now is to give it 100% with Milwaukee Soccer Development Group. I love James because I think what he's doing is great, and him and I partner up pretty good, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, Lati Ziba, it's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Keep
and
up the good
appreciate
work.
it. We'll do.
We appreciate it. You're always welcome on Two Up Front, and we look forward to hearing about more of those programs.
That
come
sounds
September
good. You'll
1st.
hear very soon.
Absolutely.
MSDGsoccer.com. By September 1st, all the programs will be on there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Lottie, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
All right.
All right. Well, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, Simon will be jumping back in the booth. We're going to hit up our 50-50 segment, Simon, and get to all kinds of other crazy stuff. This is Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Welcome back in the booth. We are live from Moran's Pub in South Milwaukee, the
South Side.
South Side. Giving a shout out to the South Side. I'm from Florida, so I can't really give
You're
a
from
shout
the
out.
South Side.
I'm from the real, but I'm so south. We're like east. We're Boston.
Right.
Because we
yes,
have so many
yeah.
snowbirds that come down to Naples that we're basically an East Coast colony. It's kind of how it works.
That makes sense.
We're on
I
the
got
west
that.
coast of Florida, but we're on the east coast of the U.S. It works in some weird way, shape, or form. But as do most things in my life, there's no real true fluidity to it. It just happens. But and we had a great first segment, Simon. We had Lati Ziba, or Ziba, not Ziba, not Zebra. It was,
Right.
He was
I heard that, yep.
Yes. Talking about his development as a person and as a player, a fantastic story. Coming from Europe and coming over and starting at 16, not knowing anybody.
Right.
And then people found out he was relatively good with a soccer ball.
Yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's kind of cool just to see how sport brings us together, specifically, obviously, for us soccer, but sport in general just has a magical way of doing that, of bringing strangers together. And, yeah, sometimes we see some of the ugliness of that, but for the most part, as a young kid for myself, too, I loved it when I ran into a European because I finally had somebody that I could actually talk soccer with.
Exactly.
You know, this was back in the days when Soccer America was really the only coverage, and that was when it was actually a weekly newspaper, not a website.
Wow.
You know?
How times have changed.
Yes,
I love it.
yes. So I get that. Not that total experience that he had, because obviously I had people that could speak English to all
Yes.
the time. But for the fact that I was still a bit of a minority in the respect of
I was
my
gonna say, that's
sport of
you
choice.
were a foreigner or a minority, like you said. I mean, I was that way too with all my friends growing up. I grew up in Green Bay until I was 13, but followed soccer, loved soccer. But we had foreign exchange students,
Right.
so we
right.
would get the guys from Spain, from France, from Italy that they live and breathe soccer over there. You know, they come over and start talking about soccer, and I'm like, tell me more. Like, and they taught me how to kick properly because I was kicking with my toe. I had no idea what I was doing. You know,
sure.
as a 12, 13-year-old boy, and they're like, no, you kick with your laces. I was like, wow. I was like,
Yeah.
soccer camp has taught me nothing. You guys have taught me way more. I'm like, this is awesome. But it's funny how that works. And even like I said, and I was telling him too once I moved to Florida, and he because he was talking about St. Anthony's being 98% Hispanic. I'm like, well, down in Naples, everybody and their mother's Hispanic down there. I'm the minority when I moved to Florida. But the passion in the Hispanic community, and I think that's one thing. As much as we dog on the Mexican teams and all of that, at the professional level, though, the passion that the Hispanic community has for soccer is unrivaled all across the world.
When I was going to school in Texas, I loved playing in the indoor league down there because we were really the only Caucasian team.
Wow. Okay.
Almost everybody we played against were Hispanic players, and quite a few of them
That was
from Mexico. From other Latin American countries, and I loved playing against those guys because just you'd almost catch yourself in awe sometimes sitting
Yes.
back watching them play.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? So, yeah, as much as we dog on the national teams, I don't ever want our listeners to think that it's ever a xenophobic thing whatsoever.
Yes.
Because, man, growing
Wow.
up.
Never heard that, and I've never heard that word before.
That means the fear of foreigners.
Xenophobic.
Yeah. But anyways,
Okay.
I don't know why xenophobic.
I won't get into it. It's not like we're not going to go gumballs this week like you did.
Right. Yes. But anyways, yeah, it's great to hear Lottie's story and what he went through and now where he's come with soccer. And of course, it's cool having that personal connection there, knowing my oldest brother Steve
Absolutely.
was his coach.
Said he's his
during high
favorite
school.
pro van too. You're going to have to change that. It's like, well, there's enough of you to choose from, I guess.
Yeah, I'm never offended.
No, not at all.
It's for me though, it's always cool to hear my brothers and my sister and the influence that they do have on people.
It's true.
You know, it's really touching to hear that. It's pretty awesome.
Exactly. The pro van name lives and breathes Milwaukee soccer,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
So whether you
Yeah.
like him or not, the pro van name is known by many that have been around the game in Milwaukee for a while. So speaking of soccer, though, as a whole, Simon, flipping over, U.S. Open Cup action taking place last night. The semifinals, the Montreal Impact of the U.S. Open Cup, the Philadelphia Union, continuing to do what they do.
Yeah, they lost in the final last year to Seattle 3-1, and that was after extra time, and that was a surprise. But there they are back again last night. They beat the Chicago Fire in Philadelphia 1-0.
They did.
If I'm going to be honest with you,
Please.
unlike the other game,
Be upfront
which
with
I'm
me,
excited to talk about. For me, this was a snooze fest.
Well, even if it wasn't an Open Cup game, Philly, Chicago, and literally any sport is a snooze fest, especially
That's
soccer.
a great point.
Especially soccer.
Now, I did feel bad for the Fire. They finally got Gilberto in there, and after
Yes.
22 minutes, he gets injured and he comes off the field.
Ooh.
That's tough.
Awkward.
That is tough.
Drogba's in Montreal, like, ha ha.
Right. And
Wow.
Lampard, too. He's injured, and he may not play. I don't know if he played tonight. I know he saw the score. I can say that I was coaching my daughter tonight, so I did not get to watch the game.
I was with my family.
Okay. All right.
But
very good.
fun fact, real quick, I talked to Sonia Kondratenko, one of our good friends
Oh,
of the
good.
show. I called her because she's announced it on social media and other places too. She now is working for Kick TV in New York, so
Yes.
I'm super excited for her. So congratulations, Sonia. But she was at the New York DC game tonight.
Oh, she was.
So I called her real fast and just was congratulating her before we went on the air, and we were just talking general and stuff. She's like, "Yeah, I was at New York DC tonight." She's like, "I'm really sad they lost, but." She's like, it was a great game and a lot of fun to watch. But, I mean, D.C. going up 1-0 in the 36th minute, held on until the 51st minute, and then NYCFC, Thomas McNamara with a goal, David Villa, not shocked at all, and then Poku as well, finding that final blow and McNamara getting an assist on that one. And Poco, I mean, all three players that scored tonight influenced everybody's goals in some way, shape, or form.
And you saw Pirlo influence a 80th minute goal too by Villa, so you see those superstars connect with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, overall, though, I mean, New York outshooting DC United 17-5, 9 total shots on goal, 7 off target, obviously. DC, 4 shots on target out of their 5, but tonight, though, it was not too bad, not too much discipline, only 3 yellow cards handed out tonight. And it seemed like a very good performance from NYCFC. Patrick Mullins, a little shout out to a former Revolution guy jumping in there, or any Revolution. And But
Lampard looks like he did not play. Just going back to that, he had an injury. He came in injured apparently as well. But good win for New York City FC. That actually messed up my power rankings right before we went on the air here. So
because I came and told you that. I was like, hey, did you hear? You're like, oh, no, I didn't hear. But, going back, though, Philly and Chicago, very boring. Nothing exciting really happening.
No, it was cool to see Sebastian Letou get back on the score sheet. And
he's one of those, consistent thorns in the side of any MLS team when you play. You have to watch. Philly could be the worst team, but Sebastian Letou is always dangerous.
And how about that? Sebastian Letou, if I remember right, he was first with Seattle. Is that correct?
Yes.
He was actually the first MLS Seattle Sounder that the team signed, but he played with the USL Sounders.
That was the big deal.
Right.
I feel like he should have stayed. I don't know.
Well, didn't he get traded? I thought he got traded to Philly.
Yeah, I think Seattle was shoot him out of town, which is
either
stupid.
way, the reason I think it's cool is that I know in Philly, Sebastian has always been one of the fan favorites.
Oh, yeah. So, since he's been there, people have loved him, and he's embraced the city. And I think that was one of the first things when he moved there, too, is that fans are like, okay, well, but we know Sebastian's a big Sounder guy. He's been with the organization for years. How is he going to translate over to a Union side? And he's done fantastic.
Yeah, now here we sit. Look, me trying to figure out, was it the Sounders he was
with? Exactly. And that shows you how much of an impact a player has on a team. Nobody remembers Clint Dempsey was a New England Revolution player. Nobody. I mean, unless you're a diehard Revolution fan like I am.
Or a diehard MLS fan.
Exactly. Clint Dempsey, he started with the Revolution. Well, yeah, but Clint Dempsey's legacy is going to live on as a Seattle Sounder.
Right.
Or for Fulham or whatever else.
Sure.
But
sure.
MLS-wise, he'll be a Seattle Sounder way more than he'll be a Revolution.
Right.
So,
and with Philly winning that game, Chicago would have hosted the Open Cup had they won,
game to go
no matter what would have happened. But Philly needed Sporting Kansas City to win in order for Philadelphia to host the final on September 30th. That happened. Sporting KC took down RSL 3-1. Yes. I thankfully got to watch almost this entire match.
That was a good game to watch. That's for sure.
The second half especially, Baxter, it was amazing. I was updating our Facebook page throughout it. But Sporting Kansas City came out of that locker room. Kudos to Peter Vermes. They came out of that locker room and just dominated with force. The first half was a bit even. RSL, they had the first goal, and Sporting.
They did.
Sporting
24th
tied it up.
minute, Olmes Garcia.
Yep, and Mustavar, the Haitian national team player, evened things up in the 35th minute. But Benny Feilhaber, I tell you what, I know there are a lot of midfielders on the national team. I would still love to see him get called up because he is consistently good. I can't remember the last time I've tuned in to watch Sporting KC and saw Feilhaber have a bad game.
I haven't. No, I've watched several games, and I really do. I do like the way that Sporting plays. I'm a big Dom Dwyer fan.
Yes,
obviously.
you are. Yeah.
But Benny Feilhaber, though, he's so much fun to watch.
And he's a playmaker.
He is.
I mean,
I loved him at New England, and I was really sad when they got rid of him.
I almost see him as almost like an old-fashioned playmaker.
He is.
But in a good way, though.
I don't know.
I mean, he's all over the field. He gets that ball. He's not looking for glory. He's looking there to dish things off. But that goal he had last night, the presence of mind he had, Dom Dwyer, first of all, makes this slalom through 2 RSL players.
That's very Dom Dwyer.
It is, yeah. Cracker of a shot off the post, and here comes Feilhaber right in the middle, puts it right in.
That's what you're trying to do. Follow the shots.
But
crash
just,
the box.
Going back to stats here, you look at shots. I mean, 17-4 or 17-7 in favor of Sporting, but even then, shots on target 11-3.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if 9 or 8 of those shots on target came in the second half because they were just peppering that goal. Well,
they were. And they were able to get 2 goals out of it.
They did, and Namath puts that as our local Packer guy would say, the nail in the coffin
Exactly.
in the 85th minute.
Real fast with Christian Namath, I feel like he's the type of guy that might win a Newcomer of the Year award because he's silently been good all season long. Like, as long as he's been with the club, he hasn't scored every single game, but he's scored enough. He's made his presence felt enough. That is, if you're an SKC fan or just an MLS regular follower, you look at Namath and you're like, this guy's actually pretty good.
I look at it this way. He's the type of player that if any team could trade for him, they would.
Oh, absolutely.
They'd love
I would
to have
love
them
New
on
England
that
to sign him. I love New England to sign anybody.
Right.
That's a whole other topic.
It is pretty amazing, not to go off topic, but how the Revolution, they signed Jermaine Jones.
Did they sign him, though? They won a lot.
They won
right. a name out of a hat.
Right.
Bob Kraft paid more money, and they got a name. Anyway.
Point taken.
I'm over it.
But for the fact that, so they spend the money on him, now he's injured. They don't go out and get anybody else.
I don't understand that. Number one, we need strikers because Agudelo is on the bench doing nothing. Literally doing nothing. Even when he's played, he's done almost nothing. Our midfield, we've got the talent in the midfield with Kellen Rowe, Lee Wynn, Teal Bunbury. We've got 3 or 4 consistent. Scotty Caldwell. We've got 4 solid starters.
Shuttleworth has done great in goal.
He has.
Well, he's done well. I shouldn't say
done
great.
Well. He hasn't done great
well.
because the defense is kind of floundered this year. Chris Tierney's not having as good a year as he had last year.
Right.
Andrew Farrell, Jose Goncalves, they're figuring things out. Landon Woodbury and Kevin Alston are on a rotating door at right back. This defense, the whole Revolution team as a whole, I could go on for hours about this. The whole Revolution team as a whole, though, it's not the same team. And I get it. Lee Wynn's not scoring every single game like he was last year. And I think something like we had talked about, in past that was probably a one-hit wonder, for last year.
Good thing he tried to hold out for more money, right?
Right? He obviously is not worth it, But anyway, going back to Christian Namath, though, he's played in 18 games. He started 16 of them, 8 goals, 4 assists, 40 shots, 12 on target. It's not bad for a first-year player.
Absolutely.
He's been with the team all season. I forget that he's been with them all season. He's been with them since December 18th of last year.
Yeah, like we've talked about him. He's a guy who's playing well. Great addition to the club. I mean, to have him up front playing with Dom Dwyer.
Yep.
It's a great example of a club that doesn't need to spend a huge amount of money to be successful. We see that with Sporting. We see that to a degree with Portland. Columbus is a good example of a club that's doing that as well. But anyways, back to the Open Cup. So we'll see Sporting take on Philadelphia in Chester, Pennsylvania.
Early prediction?
I'm going with Sporting. It scares me.
Is it too easy?
It's kind of like the Houston-LA game, right? It seems too
Philly's
easy.
Philly's going to win.
No. Philadelphia
will
will not win. I think if Sporting comes out, I don't know if you can play the way they did in the second half for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But if they have even a trace of that, there's no way that Philly can hold up with that.
If they play in the first half like that, I feel like if they come out just hard and fast against Philly, I don't feel like Philly's got the tools to keep up with the Sporting attack that's on all cylinders.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia beat a Chicago Fire team that's struggling incredibly.
That's an understatement, honestly.
Whereas, RSL, Jeff Cesar, Harvey say his last name, the manager for RSL, he gambled a bit with trying to shuffle his lineup around for league play.
Yep.
And for Open Cup play.
And trading away Sabarillo didn't help either.
Did not, although I don't know if you saw this, they did just sign a Argentine DP,
I did see
29-year-old. 2010 Argentine Player of the Year with Messi.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's that.
So there's that.
Now we know why Sabarillo was traded. And Sabarillo was nice to see him score tonight, right?
It was. Get his comfortability, with his new club in DC.
Yeah.
I think that Espindola Sabarillo could really be dangerous, especially come playoff time.
Absolutely.
If DC gets all their ducks in a row, like they've so far.
That's the key. I was a big Ben Olsen fan. I don't know if I'm sold on him anymore.
I have slowly been pulled away from Jay Heaps and Ben Olsen are kind of on my crap list this year. That's the nice way to say it. I understand DC's done well this year, but Ben Olsen as a coach and some of the decisions he's made have kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Jay Heaps with the Revolution. I was skeptical when Jay Heaps. I was like, he's a former team player. I don't know if that's ever a good idea. Hiring one of the former club legends to be your I just don't know. But
and they both did it. New England and DC.
Exactly. But they've both for most of it they've done well.
Yeah.
But now we're starting to kind of see the true colors, the true not experience of coaching come out
right
on them. But we kind of got to leave that where it is, unfortunately, Simon, and move into our 50-50 segment.
Right.
So the way our 50-50 segment works is that Simon and I discuss a hot topic in the sports world, especially soccer, because we're a soccer show, and it would be a disjustice not to talk about soccer. I don't know why I had to say that. It's
a good thing you did, just in case.
Okay, I'm going to preface this. So far this week, I've done Insanity twice this week.
All right.
So far.
All right.
So my wife recently became a fitness coach, and she's like, "Oh, would you be willing to try this?" And I'm like, "Okay, first of all, if the title is Insanity, what does that say about what I'm about to do?" So
I'm insane 7 days a week, if that means anything to you.
You'd be perfect. You'd be perfect then. You could come out and do it, and you'd probably do way better than I would. I'm starting to go insane because of this, but yeah, I'm physically and mentally just exhausted. I had a workout today, and it's those workouts where it's, you're going to max out. I'm like, it's 30 minutes of just nonstop, ridiculous, crazy, and it was good. Like, I feel good. I feel sore like I did when I played college soccer, where you did all that conditioning, every single day. Like, I'm back to that soreness of my literally not being able to almost breathe just because my whole body's too sore to breathe. But it's been fun. It's been a good experience. So that's why I'm like not all mentally here today.
Okay,
that's where we were coming.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so tired. It took me that long to get around the block. I'm usually pretty swift with my transitions, but.
I almost took a break there.
Yeah, you were like halfway to the bathroom,
water.
and I had to like wave you back. Like, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Come back. But the way our 50-50 segment works, for those of you that are still listening, is that Simon and I take a topic in the soccer world. Like we've talked in the past about the U.S. women's national team. We've talked about Jill Ellis, and her tenure with the team. Talked about all different kinds of topics.
Resigned, by the way.
She did. I'm happy that she did resign. So the topic we're going to be discussing this week is whether or not the Canadian Amway Cup Championship is worth it. Is that kind of like what we're...
Sure, legitimate. How about that?
Legitimate. Okay.
Is it a legitimate way to determine
the best
champion of Canada for the CONCACAF Champions League?
The four teams are Montreal, FC Edmonton.
FC Edmonton's the NASL entrant.
Yes. Yep. Vancouver, and then TFC.
Right, so 4 teams.
So 3 MLS teams, 1 NASL team.
Right.
Edmonton might, wouldn't be surprised if they got a promotion bump, but yeah.
Yeah,
that's another topic.
That is another topic,
so,
right.
All right, so we each get 45 seconds. 45 and 45 equals 90, which is a soccer match. I went first last week, so Simon will be leading off this week. I am ready with the timer. Simon, are you ready, sir?
I'm ready, sure.
All right, 45 on the clock. On your mark, get set, go.
Usually, I would be sitting back here saying, no, this is absolutely ridiculous. A 4-team tournament to determine the champion of Canada. But I'll tell you what, I'm actually okay with this. I wish the format was a little bit different. I wish it wasn't just right into semifinals. I'd rather it be a round-robin play and the best team from the round-robin wins. But your 4 best teams in Canada generally are going to be the 3 MLS teams, and then your NASL team, FC Edmonton. Now, there are other teams in Canada like Ottawa. There may be one in Calgary. I honestly don't know. But if we even look at the history of the U.S. Open Cup, we always end up, in 1996 being an exception, we always end up with the MLS team. So the champion of Canada is going to come out of MLS or NASL. There's no other way to do it.
I know that TFC and Vancouver, all 3 MLS teams up there have a second team, like a USL team.
Yes, right.
So
right.
I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing or not. I don't think they could.
I guess it would depend on whatever their bylaws would be.
That's true. I've always wondered about that.
Yeah. So. All right, well.
All right.
You ready to?
I'm ready.
You're going to do 20 seconds, right?
Oh, gosh. I could talk really fast.
On your marks, get set, go.
All right. Honestly, Canada is not known for soccer. We've seen this at the national level. We've seen this fail at the women's level. They're doing better than the men, but no one cares who the best team is in Canada. Honestly. Think about it for a second. Toronto FC, all they've got is Giovinco. Montreal, exactly. Vancouver, they're white hot, and then FC Edmonton. It's not even fair. You're not even taking 4 MLS teams to compete for the best team in Canada. At the end of the day, all 4 of those teams aren't going to do anything long-term for the growth of Major League Soccer, and they're in Canada. Nobody watches soccer in Canada. They watch hockey. Even the Canadian Football League gets more viewership than MLS games and NASL games. So I think the tournament as a whole is ridiculous, and it's just a waste of time and money.
Time's up. You ended a second early, and that's okay.
I had to. I
but
needed to breathe.
This is all about the only reason it's there now. I mean, the Voyageurs Cup used to be a fan thing. By the way, Montreal and Vancouver tied last night 2-2 in Montreal, which gives Vancouver the lead on this. But they had to figure out some way to determine a Champions League berth.
Yes,
that's what it came down to. So it's not about people watching Canadian soccer or not. They have to have some way to determine it.
I wish there was a tournament that involved all the teams in Major League Soccer that they could find out the top whatever teams.
That's called MLS Cup. But what do you do if a Canadian team doesn't win MLS Cup?
Not my fault. They suck. Top 2 teams go through. I don't know.
The conference
winners go through or something.
I didn't think we could talk about this for too long, but actually we could have a whole segment on this.
We might revisit it. So we're going to go to a break. We are broadcasting live from Moran's Pub in South Milwaukee. Simon Provan and Baxter Colburn here live on Spreaker and on SportsRadioAmerica.com. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I am Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
Welcome back inside the remote studio. We are broadcasting live from Moran's Pub in South Milwaukee. It's not closing time. Billy Joel is not in the corner playing Piano Man, but the pub is slowly starting to thin out. The Packers game is in the books as they take home a preseason victory for whatever it's worth. Most of those guys will be cut tomorrow anyway. But anyway, we have been talking soccer. We've had a good time. We were chatting earlier with Ladi Zeba about his incredible adventure from Europe over to America, especially Wisconsin, and his development from high school to college to where he is now working with James Moran and the Milwaukee Soccer Development Group and some of the exciting things that they have coming up as well. But we talked with Ladi, but now we're going to talk with the man, the myth, the legend. He's not really a myth. He's the man.
He's right here.
He's the legend. It's James Moran, and we're going to bring him in. And Simon, you guys are going to have a bit of a chat for a while. So welcome James Moran back to the show.
So, of course, while we're switching over headsets here, too, I am having immense trouble with my computer. It will not load. I can't bring up any of the pages I want to come up with. So, anyways, I don't have to talk too much about that because Mr. Moran is in the studio with us. Hey, James, how you doing?
I'm good, Simon. I'm good. Very good. And I've just got to say that the way Baxter introduced me there is fantastic. I love that. And there's so many people that, my friends back home in England and quite a few here that would go, my God, what is wrong with Baxter to say that and even think about it?
Yeah, he's come to think of it, he's never introduced me in such a way either. So there we go. Anyways, James, just we had a great time at the Barons tailgate before the Newcastle Atlas game at Miller Park. We've been talking a bit about things that are happening. Just wanted to touch base with you. Anything else going on with Barons, our Milwaukee Soccer Development Group, that you wanted to add to the conversation?
Yeah, certainly. Today, I was talking to quite a few of the pub owners about doing some viewing parties for the Barons. So another way to get our name out there and keep the movement alive. And, I spoke to the pubs and I said, there's a couple guys there from the tailgate you might remember, Simon and Baxter from Two Up Front. Would you be open to letting those guys come along? And they want you. They want to invite you down along with the Barons and kind of, get some partnership, team up and start showing you to a bigger soccer audience, locally. So I think it's a great opportunity for the Barons again and for you guys to work with us and help get the name out.
Yeah, well, we certainly obviously appreciate the help that you've given us on top of obviously what you're doing with the Barons and spreading the word about two up front, because as you know from the work you've done, that's the only way we can grow is essentially word of mouth and what it means. And we're all passionate about this game. We all want to see this game succeed at some level, and we've got our own projects that we want to see succeed. So, again, thanks for spreading the word about that. And, yeah, Baxter and I are in talks. There's many other pubs around, and that's one of the cool things that's evolved in Milwaukee is the evolution of the soccer pub, the football pub. We've got Three Lions, you've got the Highbury, you got the Nomad. Now we got Moran's Pub here, which I know you've been around for a while, but what I understand, you're taking over a little more of this, or just
just trying to help out. My parents have had the bar here for nearly just surpassed 20 years. Moran's Pub, and I've been gone. I told them I wasn't going to work here when I graduated.
Of course,
and
right.
this big change in my life where I'm moving away from the engineering field. I have moved away now, and basically, this soccer bug has got me hooked. Whether it's working with kids or MSDG or now promoting soccer with the Barons and a few other projects have just been fantastic. And the experience, we just held an event, Lati might have mentioned the street soccer event on Pulaski Park there on the tennis courts on 16th Street. 50 kids came out. We did a Facebook blast. People spread the word like you couldn't believe. And in 2 hours, we had 50 kids show up to play soccer on these old tennis courts that had looked like a bomb had gone off in certain areas that were so old and neglected. So it's just been a fantastic ride, and this is kind of the next step for me, is to take over on the weekends. I'm kind of doing it slowly, changing the music. I've got a George Best picture on the wall behind you. I brought my
good start.
Pele picture in. I've been saving up for about 20 years of memorabilia that I want to kind of bring in slowly here. We're going to turn the back room into a soccer area, put a couple TVs up. I want to kind of tap into some of the local clubs. Croatian Eagles, get one of their shirts. Aztec United. I don't know anybody at Polonia, but I'll be knocking on their door too. Just some of the the local teams in the area. And put some of their gear up too, kind of show them off. And that's probably going to be happening in late October. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be when we're officially, presenting, hey, you know what, Moran's Pub, we're doing a rebrand, and this is the direction that we're going to be going now, and see what happens. I've gotten a lot of support, and hopefully you guys are free to join us on that day too.
Yeah, we'd love to be there. Is it going to become a Birmingham supporters club or pub?
I've got some memorabilia. My favourite piece, it's maybe it's a little sign that I took off the field one time. Everybody rushed onto the field. It was a pitch invasion. And I had my eye on this one piece, and it says, do not run onto the pitch, maximum fine, £500. And I grabbed it. I wrestled it off. It had some wire wrapped around it, and the corners broke. And I've kept it all this time.
Yeah.
And back then, when I moved here, I moved here 19 years ago, it was really easy to walk into the stadium. So I've got we went into the dugout. I took the number 11.
Wow.
I got a big sign saying Birmingham City Club Call Hotline. It's maybe 3x3 that I brought over with me years ago. And so, again, I mentioned the George Best sign behind that was signed for my dad by Georgie Best back in the day. I've got a bunch of stuff, and I'm really excited to kind of bring it to the pub and just kind of see what the reaction is. And the support I've received so far for pretty much everything going on, it's been fantastic. And I'm intrigued to see what happens as I move forward here.
Well, I hope that pitch invasion sign takes center stage here, because that sounds like a pretty sweet piece of memorabilia to hang up here.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I'm looking at maybe above the door, but there's a sign there at the moment. I'll have to ask for permission to remove.
Right. It's the family name, no big deal.
Yeah.
So Birmingham, are they championship? Are they?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Are you able to still follow them at all, or you don't get to see them too much now that they're in the championship?
It's a little bit more difficult now, that they are in the championship. But I have to say that 1 year when they were going down, it was just nasty to watch.
Yeah.
McLeish was the manager. Negative football, not a whole lot of stuff to really enjoy, apart from that 2-1 victory over Arsenal in the what did they call it then? It's the Coca-Cola Cup final?
Coca-Cola Cup,
I forget.
yes.
It's changed its names every few years. It used to be
Right.
called the Rumbelows at one point.
Now, and that's officially, though, that's the League Cup, is that
right?
right?
Yeah, that's what it's referred to as, yeah.
Can you explain to this American, I've watched this, I've even watched back when it was the First Division, not the Premier League. I watched it back then on whatever would get on PBS. but I've never understood the difference between the League Cup and the FA Cup. Is there really a difference between the two, or is it just a moneymaker, one or the other?
Yeah.
Are there certain teams who can't play in one that can play in the other? Or
Yeah, the League Cup is certainly just geared towards the teams in the top 4 divisions.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's just another chance for the little clubs to play against somebody big.
Sure.
Obviously the big teams don't take it very seriously, and they'll put out their second-string teams now because they are playing in so many games. So it's just a good opportunity for one of the smaller clubs to progress and take the fans to Wembley for a day if you can get that far.
Right. So and it's the top 4 divisions in England that are considered the league. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then anything below that is outside of the league.
Non-league.
Non-league.
Football,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the non-league teams play in the FA Cup, but
Yeah.
the non-league teams don't play in the League Cup.
Correct.
Okay.
And we could, if we had a team here, we could play in an FA Cup qualifier. Anybody, it's open to anybody. The proper teams obviously don't play till January, but right now going on in England, well, it's August, but maybe in September or so, they'll start playing those early games. They really will, and battling away to get that one chance of playing.
Well, I know with the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, they already have, I believe, 11 amateur teams qualified for the first round for 2016. So in that way, it's similar as well.
Yeah, and that's another old one as well. I mean, is that the oldest cup in America? Right?
It is, yeah. Yep. It's the oldest cup. It's actually the oldest trophy too in American sports, which is I've told Baxter about this, James. In the early 1900s, soccer was actually a pretty big sport here. But what happened is there were 2 leagues competing with each other that basically, when the Depression came, just completely imploded, and because of that, soccer basically disappeared for quite a while. And then, they did send a team to the 1934 World Cup or whatever the first one was. They ended up taking 3rd place there. Granted, I think there were only 11 teams in that first one. But 1950, obviously, they went to that World Cup and beat England 1-0.
Okay. I wasn't around then. I don't know.
But then after that, until the NASL came around, it was, Anyways.
I was just telling you mentioned the 1950 World Cup. I was just pointing my daughter out, Alexi Lalas on TV. I says, he was famous in England, or infamous in England, from that goal he scored against us in 1993.
That's right. Yes, at Foxborough. Yeah, that was in the old U.S. Cup. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that tournament. They'd always invite 4 teams over. That was an odd time too in U.S. Soccer because U.S. Soccer owned the contracts of all those guys. So essentially, the national team was a club team. Huh. So when players would go play with other teams, U.S. Soccer was loaning them out to club teams. Yeah, it was really. But you look at the results of that now. We've got a league that's doing well, a national team that's doing pretty well, better than it was. So it's a movement that paid off for them.
Yeah, agreed.
So October, you said, is the relaunch of Moran's Pub?
Yeah, that'll be it. We'll have a big party down here. Try and work in some kind of fundraiser for Milwaukee Soccer Development Group. We'll have a viewing party for the Barons too. So we'll make a big affair of it. And then, gosh, there's so much work to do before then, and there's other projects that hopefully we can discuss on the show as we get closer and they become confirmed. But we've got a lot of exciting stuff. Just it's all coming up.
And before the shows happen, I'm sure there will be updates that happen. Where can people follow you? Where can people follow the Milwaukee Soccer Development Group? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, website for the Milwaukee Soccer Development Group is www.msdgsoccer.com. And that is our new site. So,
all right.
That's the one.
And Facebook as well? You have presence there?
We're everywhere.
Okay.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So you can't hide from us.
Well, again, James, we want to thank you for your support as well of 2 Up Front, getting the word out there about us. And we appreciate the work that you're doing for soccer in general in the community, but especially with the inner city kids, with trying to bring a high-level professional team here as well. It's exciting times.
It is. It's really exciting, and I tell you what, the next few months is going to explode. That's why I need to get as much sleep as I can right now. I'm not joking. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Well, we will let you get that sleep. Thank you again for coming on the show. We will we'll have Baxter come on in here, but let's stay in touch, James. I'm sure we'll see you around soon.
Certainly.
Well, there you go, folks. James Moran making another stop in at the 2 Up Front show. We are here at Moran's Pub in South Milwaukee. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll have our MLS power rankings, predictions, and a whole lot of other fun stuff. We are 2 Up Front.
Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I am Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
We are broadcasting live from Moran's Pub in South Milwaukee as we are continuing to get out in the community around this is our second show in the Milwaukee area. We've been to Soldier Field, we've been to Miller Park, and now we're at Moran's Pub.
Yeah, we really enjoy doing these remote broadcasts.
It adds an entirely new dynamic to the show.
It does, and it's fun to get in the communities.
Give back.
Meet new people, stay in touch with our good friends like James Moran and meeting new people.
Absolutely, like Lottie.
Exactly.
You hear new stories that you would not have guessed to hear.
Right. And, the great support that we're getting, too, from these other pub owners wanting to bring us in.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. And pub owners, if you're listening to this, we will definitely take you up on that
absolutely.
offer.
I like cider.
You're a cider man.
I love cider.
You like the cider, do you?
I love a good cider. It was when I went to England and Ireland over 2 years ago with my choir from college. Yeah, I was introduced to cider. I'm like, it's apple juice. They're like, no, it's cider. I'm like, and I had it. I'm like, oh. So it's fantastic.
James, I feel a bit like Everton right now. Not so much that they had a terrible game.
Like
I mean, they drew with Watford 2-2. But
why am I James?
Did I say James?
You called me
I was
James.
thinking, I'm sorry, Baxter.
I'm like,
maybe I need the sleep that James needs too.
I haven't got the accent that James has.
I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching the meteorite shower last night.
Oh,
had the blanket out. I was laying there. I think I saw about 30 or 40 of them.
Holy cow! I had no idea that was last night.
Yeah. Huh. Anyways, my computer will not let me win.
Well, I have mine so far.
Right.
I'm relatively winning. So our new power rankings are out.
Great segue.
Thank you. Simon does not have power in his laptop, but our new power rankings do.
There we go.
And some changes, but not too terrible. Nope. Your number one stayed. My number one stayed. Everything else is kind of shuffled.
A little different.
A little bit.
It's different, but the same for some of it.
Exactly. So, Simon, you have a 5B, a 6. I didn't know we could have a B or a 0.5.
You got to bend the rules a little bit here or
when
there.
do we not?
So now, when I was looking at this week's power rankings, I was thinking, I can't keep DC in there after tonight, after losing.
Absolutely not.
And on top of that, it was a cool thing that they made history by having only one shot on goal against Montreal, and they still won the game 1-0 because they put that shot in.
As long as it goes in.
But that also says something about the ineptitude of the team right now. And then they lose to NYCFC, the Baby Blues, 3-1. No, that's not what they're officially called, but I like to call them the Baby Blues.
That's great.
So I had to kick DC out of my power rankings.
They were never even in my power rankings.
It's true, they weren't.
Get with the
But
times.
you had Colorado in there longer than I did.
I did. I had them in for a week.
I thought you had them for 2 weeks.
Maybe. I'd have to go back and listen. We should really keep like a tab of like
We should.
week to week.
But that would be more organized.
We just delete and redo. Like we don't actually like, on 8/13, this is what our power rankings were, and now 8/20. No, that'd be way too easy.
Well,
no one's got time for that.
Speaking of the power rankings,
yes.
No, I was debating between Columbus and Houston. Columbus has been playing well,
They have, yes.
But I ultimately went with Houston as my number 5. So I made my Columbus. They're not necessarily a 6, but they're more like a 5B. But Houston had that 3-0 win over LA,
that's going to way to make a statement. We were like, there's no way that LA is going to lose, and there was a big way.
There you go,
big way.
Then they tie Sporting 1-1. Granted, Sporting. Not that they've been terrible, but they haven't been playing as well as they could be.
True.
The Open Cup notwithstanding. And granted, Houston really should have had a penalty called against them. But anyways, they go out and beat San Jose 2-1. DeMarcus Beasley.
With a great goal.
Great goal, absolutely. And, was that his first one in MLS play since like 2004 or something
I know,
that?
I was like,
it's some
that's
crazy
right.
stat like that.
Well, he's a defender. He doesn't get forward very often.
Right. And they had a loss in there 4 weeks out, but they also, again, they beat San Jose, drew before that. So they've been surprisingly more consistent than I had realized.
Yeah.
So I'm putting Houston up there, 3-game unbeaten streak.
Understandable,
as my number 5.
Understandable. My number 5 is your 5B, the Columbus Crew. They have Kai Kamara.
Kai Kamara.
It's one of those things. It's hard to argue against him.
Yeah.
I mean, they go in and they beat their Colorado Rapids 2-1. Yes, they lost 5-2 to Columbus.
And that's exactly why I made them my 5B.
And that Orlando game, you take away that hat trick from Kyle Larin, and it's a whole other game. But that was it's one of those games that happens in the soccer world where one player just catches fire, and there was no goalkeeper anywhere would have been able to stop how he played that night.
Yeah.
So.
There are some nights that like you said, you get a player that is just so much in the zone.
Yes.
And let's face it, Larin's been in the zone for the past 5 or 6 games.
And he's on pace. He's obviously going to be the Rookie of the Year, aside from anybody just having a crazy finish of the season, which I doubt happening, but it is soccer. Anything's physically possible. But yeah, Columbus, though, they've won 3 out of their last 5 games. They've won against Chicago 3-1. They beat Chicago again 1-0. They played them back-to-back within a week.
Right. And I will say, not to keep going back to this, that's another reason why I made them 5B. They're
the teams that they've played. And I understand that. I mean, the 3-3 draw with Toronto is questionable, and some people can take that the wrong way. But you take the Orlando game out of the equation, and they've done relatively well over the last few games.
Sure.
So moving on to number 4 for both of us. I have the New York Red Bulls at 4. Yes, they just smashed the Baby Blues, as you said, completing the Derby sweep with a 2-0 victory.
Hudson River
Derby. But they fall in my power rankings. They were 3 for me last week, and I've dropped them to 4. Because of the 3 teams ahead of them, though, which we'll get to momentarily. Sure. New York, though, you're favoring New York this week. They're higher up in your power rankings.
They are. New York's one of those teams that between the two of us, I don't think we've ever really agreed on them.
No.
We had that early disagreement early in the season when they had not played as many games, but they were winning. They were winning. They were undefeated at that point. They've resold me, so we'll get to the Red Bulls in a moment.
Okay.
But my number 4 is FC Dallas. Now, they did have a bye week. Generally, I don't go by the rule of dropping a team when they have a bye week. But how well my 3 and 2 have played, I had to drop FC Dallas.
Okay. Now, that's my argument, though, for FC Dallas is because they had a bye week, that's why they stay at number 1.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna argue. Like I said, I broke my own rule there, so I'm not going to argue against that at all.
Yeah, so I revealed my number 1, which is obviously too early, but we'll get to Simon's here in a moment. We have the same number 3, which is good. Vancouver Whitecaps, they are white hot.
They are white hot. I mean, they drew with Seattle 1-1, and you could say, well, geez, it's Seattle. But that's a Cascadia team. Those games are never
Absolutely.
gimmies, no matter how bad any of those teams are.
Yes.
And man,
And then, they drew with Portland, not Seattle. They drew with Portland 1-1.
It's Portland.
Yes.
I'm
then
sorry. Yes, thank you.
It was Portland related, so you
Which
tried
does
to push
make
it out
it-
of your head. You're just like,
And
Portland.
that was in Portland, if I remember correctly.
believe you're
which is
correct.
probably why I also
Exactly.
pushed it out of my head. But
It happens.
nevertheless, that makes it even more of a point, right? That
Yes.
They did draw a good Cascadia
did. They
team.
did.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Timbers fan. Let's face it, right now it's Vancouver, Portland, Seattle when we're looking at
Oh,
those
absolutely.
three
FC
Cascadia
Edmonton's
teams.
making a push. No, they're really not. But, yeah, they look at Vancouver the next 3 games. 3-1 against a decent San Jose team. They smashed the Sounders 3-0.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like you'd remembered that.
I
you know?
should have.
And then RSL, yes, they're not having the greatest year, but they still pound them 4-0.
No, and this goes back to what I said, too, before, that Jeff Cesar, he tried to shuffle his lineup around to handle both the league and the Open Cup. I don't know if it's lack of experience from a manager point of view. He sees what these managers in Europe do with shuffling between tournaments and league play. I think he overcoached himself there, but it
I think so.
completely backfired on him. You lose 4-0 to a good Vancouver team, yes, but
rightfully
RSL
so, yes.
RSL has no business losing 4-0.
No. They are too good of a team with a decent grouping of players to lose 4-0.
Yes, but nevertheless, Vancouver, number 3 for both of us.
Absolutely. You already told us you're number 2. Your New York Red Bulls are at number 2.
Actually, I didn't say they were number 2, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
thought you had
That's
said
all right.
that. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, New York Red Bulls are my number 2. They drew with Montreal 1-1. We got some Pink Floyd
the
rock in the
jukebox
background
is going
there.
rogue on us. Good Lord.
But I was impressed with that 1-1 draw with Montreal because they were down and they were a bit scattered during that game. But then they ended up equalizing it off of a nice Lloyd Sam goal. And then they go out and do what I thought they would do. They didn't just beat the Baby Blues.
Yes.
I mean,
They made them
crushed
babies.
They made them babies, yeah. That's a great way to say
They
it.
outplayed them. They outclassed them and asserted their dominance as the best team in New Jersey or New York.
BWP, another goal for him
That's
as
what he
well.
does.
2-0 against NYCFC. New York is just too hot for me to keep them where they were, so I've got them at my number 2.
And I think that if Vancouver and New York played right now, I would have to still go for Vancouver. As much as the Red Bulls have been hot.
You say that, and as weird as this is going to sound,
Yes.
I'm going to agree with you on that.
Really? Okay. Are you feeling okay?
I'm
Have you had a pint too many, Simon?
a pint too much of water. That's all I'm drinking tonight.
Oh, well.
Maybe
Gotta
it was that delicious lasagna we got served here earlier.
So yummy. I know. I walked in and they're like, well, there's lasagna. I'm like, what? My inner Italian's like, oh, perfect.
My belly was just saying it was perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I hadn't eaten since lunch. Anyways, gumballs, lasagna, we go all over the place.
Exactly.
Yeah,
people love
I
us.
would pick Vancouver, and this is where I wrestle with myself.
Okay.
Because you do look at, again, the conference the Red Bulls are playing in.
Yes.
They're playing in the Eastern Conference, the
Which
weaker Eastern
doesn't
Conference.
mean much.
You draw with Montreal, you beat NYCFC.
Yep.
Neither of those teams are great. At the same time, I can't discount.
NYCFC's decent.
They're decent.
They've earned the decent status.
And we've talked about this before. If the U.S. Oh, that's a bad example. If Mexico plays Cuba and they
Yes.
beat Cuba 6-0, you can't. We can sit there and say, yeah, but it was Cuba. Hey, it was a Gold Cup. That's a win.
Now, if
you
the
know?
U.S. plays Jamaica. Oh, wait.
Right.
That's something
So my point is, and I'm doing a really poor job of explaining this.
I get the
so-
general concept before you're going with
Yeah,
this,
so,
but
a win is a win.
it is
a win.
Absolutely.
And Vancouver has been winning as well, but I feel that New York has been more. They're more consistent with the way they play. They're more consistent with their tactics, with their strategy.
They've got a great product.
They've all bought into Jesse Marsh's system. Carl Robinson's doing a great job now in Vancouver, but there's still always that chance that the team's going to have. I feel like Vancouver has more of a chance of having an off night than the Red Bulls do.
True.
But overall,
that's actually a fair point. Now that you bring that up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But overall, I would take Vancouver over
yes,
the Red
I like
Bulls.
Vancouver. They're fun. They're fun to watch. All right, so my number 1 is your number 4. So we already covered that, FC Dallas. But my number 2 is your number 1.
Right.
So the LA Galaxy, they don't move for you this week. They
reason
don't
to.
move for me. Yes, they're still continuing to kick down doors and take in names and.
Yeah, I mean they had their first away win over the Rapids. We talked about that.
Yep.
And but you look at what Gio it's pretty awesome that he plays in the Champions League the other night, scores a goal, plays his first MLS season game, scores a goal.
The Gio Show, and I can't think of the movie, the Tom Hanks movie where he's on a boat and it gets taken over by pirates.
Right.
I can't think.
Now
know the
that
movie.
you said
know
that,
the movie I'm talking about,
I
though,
do
right?
know what
And
you're
you know
talking
that the one character that comes up and he says, "I'm the captain now." You know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a meme posted of Giovanni holding the new number 10 shirt that he's got because there's controversy of him wearing Donovan's number,
which is ridiculous. Let me just say that.
It is.
And we're big Donovan fans.
Absolutely.
So,
and the caption says, "Look at me, I'm the captain now," and I'm like, yes. Yes, that is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that,
Yeah.
you can't retire the number 10. It's soccer, for crying out loud.
Exactly. You can't have a number. You can't not have a number 10.
You know, and I know some people are saying, well, you could at least give it time to honor Donovan. I'll tell you what, quite frankly, I would think that Landon Donovan wouldn't care at all about this.
I don't think he's. Is he distraught because Gio's got his 10? No. He's over it.
And Gio's been very respectable about it. He was
exactly.
He was
it's not
asked
like
about
look at me.
Right.
Yeah. It's
He even said, Landon Donovan is a great player.
He's a Mexican killer.
And it's very called him Mexican. What do they call them? The Mexicutioner.
Mexicutioner.
Right,
yes.
right. Now he didn't say that, but that's what he's been known as.
That's what he's been.
But he was very respectful about it, and he said, "Look, I'm not here to be Landon Donovan. I'm here to be Giovanni Dos Santos."
And he's proved that.
Yes, he has.
And it looks like whatever injury he had is gone because he's been scoring.
Right.
That one injury that people were like, "Oh my gosh, Gio got hurt in the Gold Cup final." No, he's fine.
And the goal that he scored on too, if I'm remembering this correctly, I think it was Keane. I want to say it was to Legit, but I think it was to somebody else.
Keane was the last assist. It was the assist, though.
Okay, and Gerard.
It was Gerard.
Gerard played it outright. I wish I could remember who was outright. I want to say that was Legit, but I don't think that's
Was
the
Jose
case.
out there or Giassi? Can't remember.
I can't remember. Anyways, but then it was to Gerard.
Yep.
Then to
Keane.
Keane. Then to Dos Santos.
That's how it works.
And that's
the LA machine is rolling, baby.
right. And you can sit there and say, well, they've got the money for it. But you know what? Other big DPs have been signed in this league that haven't performed well.
Exactly.
LA just happens to find the DPs that. I mean, look at TFC. You have Bradley and Altidore there. There's no reason that those guys shouldn't be able to play
I saw a
as
headline
well as these guys
this last
are.
week that said, "Is Giovinco better without Bradley and Altidore?"
I saw that as well.
I think so. I absolutely agree.
Well, he wins more games
without them.
Without
because he gets
Altidore
the ball
being in there. Right.
Yeah. So those are our new power rankings for you. Real quick recap of them. LA is number 1 for Simon, 2 Red Bulls, 3 Vancouver, 4 FC Dallas, 5 is Houston, and 5B or 6, depending on how you sort things, is Columbus. For me, my 1 through 5 is FC Dallas, LA Galaxy, Vancouver, New York Red Bulls, and Columbus Crew. Real quick before we go to our last break, we have predictions for you for the upcoming games this weekend. We know Friday, after this broadcast is finished on Sports Radio America, which you can hear us from 3 to 6 Eastern. San Jose takes on Colorado. How you feeling about that game?
San Jose.
Yep, I'd have to agree. Colorado's just... Yeah, they had a few good games, but there's not much.
Like I said, fool me once.
Yeah.
Not going to fool me twice.
San Jose, Colorado's a snore fest anyway. But there's a few fun games on Saturday, though, that I'm excited to watch. Red Bulls, TFC. I've got the Red Bulls in this game.
Same.
New England, Houston. I've got Houston in this game. Revolution just aren't doing it for me right now.
They aren't. I'm going to go with New England, though. Actually,
Okay.
I'm going to go with a draw on this one.
Of course.
Yeah.
A 10-10 barn burner draw. Why not?
That's the MLS Cup that I was able to see in person,
That's
by
right.
the way. The
That's
Revolution
right.
Houston
Right. What a game to go to.
down at the old Pizza Hut Park.
Ooh, not the Domino's or Little Caesars or one of those. All right.
It was fun because they called it. Some of the locals called it the Oven, which I thought was a cool name.
That makes sense, though. Why not?
Yeah.
All right, FC Dallas and LA, probably the game of the week. Well, yes and no. FC Dallas, LA, and then you've also got SKC Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
2 big games this week.
Mm-hmm. Both. I wish the flex scheduling was already in place because, man, I'd love to see both of these games on the national television.
No kidding.
The national television. I say it like it's one big thing. Sleep is a good thing.
Exactly. I know who my game. I know who's got my wins, my votes in these.
I'm still picking LA, even though the game's down in Dallas.
No, I've got LA in this one too, and then I've got to go. As much as I love Vancouver, Sporting's got my vote in this one.
I'm going with Sporting as well.
Portland
No
RSL. What do you got for that one?
I'm going with Portland.
Yeah, I got to go for Portland too.
So for sure you would take RSL.
No, I don't like RSL right now. They're not playing well.
You know what? I'm actually going to change mine, not
course
for the
you
sake
are.
of changing it. I get the sense.
Draw?
No. I'm going to actually take RSL on this. It's at Rio Tinto, but I just have this gut feeling that Jeff Cesar has learned from his mistakes.
I sure hope so.
Ramondo's going to be back in goal.
Yeah.
He played fantastic against Sporting. Those goals really were not his fault.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Real Salt Lake. Sorry, Timbers. Sorry.
That hurts. All right, then the last two games, the Seattle Sounders and Orlando.
This is actually tough because
They both
every
suck.
game I expect Seattle to. But I'm going to take Orlando.
Yeah, that's who I had too. And then the repeat
Oh,
of the Snooze
Snooze Fest. That's why I did that. Yes, like I don't want it. This is the game
Philly,
that's on
Chicago.
national TV.
I'm going to call a draw. Why not have FC Dallas and Sporting? And like FC Dallas and LA and Sporting Vancouver, those should be the primetime games. That would be great soccer to watch.
You've
Orlando's been on primetime like 86 times this year.
Right, all because of Kaká, who's been called back up to the Brazil national
Look
team.
at that.
I'll go with Philly on that one.
Fair
I'll
enough.
take Philadelphia.
I got to draw because I just don't care. All right, we are going to go to our final break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show, throw out our I Believe segments, and bid you adieu from Moran's Pub. It is closing time, and we are ready to head home because Simon needs sleep.
Little semisonic there.
Little something. I couldn't have told you who sang that. I just know that. I just know that line. That's all I know. Anyway, we're going to go to a break. This is Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition, the edition, the front of the two. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front. I have not had anything to drink, even though we are live at Moran's Pub in South Milwaukee.
This is, you know what I gotta say, this is a pretty sweet looking place. I love
It
the old feel to it. It's got that old. Man, do I need sleep, Baxter?
I don't even know what it's
trying to
called.
blink.
I don't even know what it's called. It's green. There's
yeah,
designs on
but
it.
it's got that like 1920s feel to the ceiling. I like the architecture in here.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a good show so far. We're broadcasting live from Moran's Pub
Well,
in
that's
South
debatable,
Milwaukee.
but
I'm having a good time. I don't know if you
We're having
are.
a good time.
I'm
Yeah,
having a
yeah.
good time. I mean, we're here in South Milwaukee. Remember, you can catch us, though, on Fridays from 3 to 6 Eastern on Sports Radio America and Live 365 and tune in. And you can listen to us on demand anytime on iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and on iTunes. You can follow us on social media at 2UpFront on Facebook and 2UpFront Soccer on Twitter, at Simon Provan, at Baxter Colburn. We love hearing from you guys. We love interacting, and we're excited to continue our tour of the pubs around the greater Milwaukee area. And we appreciate your listenership
it's
as
the
well.
Two Up Front Soccer pub crawl. Eventually, anyways.
Eventually. Do we get shirts? Oh, a shirt. Like
That's kind of a good idea.
all the pubs up
Sure.
logos on the back and
Sure.
like that. Like I closed Moran's Pub. I closed.
Right.
No, I don't got that kind of time.
No.
Or that kind of money. Anyway, well, it is the time of the show, Simon, that we both love. Even though we haven't heard this chant in a positive light recently, we still enjoy it because it's part of our show. So, obviously, it is our I Believe segment, and the way our I Believe segment works is Simon and I both offer I Believes about something in the soccer world. So, hypothetically, I believe that the New England Revolution will win the MLS Cup. Well, said no real MLS fan anyway, ever. But that's just a general idea of it. So,
Boy, when you say hypothetical, you take it to the extreme.
I really do. Hypothetically, like, Landon Donovan's going to come out of retirement and lead the team to a 2018 World Cup.
There you go. Well, maybe Bob Bradley will be back, considering how awesome he's doing in Norway.
That's true.
He's got Stabæk. Now, this is a team that does not have a lot of money.
Roger Staubach?
Yeah.
He's got the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Sorry, football nerd. Anyway, I'm done.
Anyway, he's got them in second place. And they're already talking about wanting to do a contract extension with him.
Way to go, Bob.
If he wins the league, he will be the first American coach to coach a team in Champions League play.
Champions! Or however it goes.
And here, everybody was saying how Bob Bradley's washed up. He blah, blah, blah.
It's the haircut.
And there you go. It's the haircut.
That's what throws me. He and Michael got matched.
But, congratulations to Bob Bradley on what he's doing over there.
For him.
To take a cash-stripped club, I don't care that it's Norway, but this is a team that was always on the verge of relegation, had been relegated a few times. He's got them in second place with 11 games to go over there in Norway.
Let's do it.
So congrats, Bob.
Way to go, Bob.
Cheering for you.
Absolutely. Like I'm cheering for us to try to do our I Believe segment again. So for that quick, or not quick.
I throw some knowledge in there back there, and you cut me down.
I appreciate the knowledge. All right, so our I Believe segments. My I Believe segment might surprise you, Simon. I believe that the Seattle Sounders will miss the playoffs.
Wow.
I believe that they will miss the playoffs.
I say wow because that is one half of my I Believe.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I had no idea. They are in 6th place in the Western Conference with 32 points. I would rather Houston or RSL or, God, even forbid, Colorado. Everybody come on down. Seattle, they're not making the playoffs this year. Not happening.
This has to be one of the first weeks, by the way, that the bottom two teams in the West would not make the playoffs if they played in the East.
The East has finally figured their stuff out, at least just enough.
So I also believe that Seattle will not make the playoffs.
Hey.
But this is actually based off of the fact that in one of our very first shows when we did our West preview, East preview, you took the East teams, I took the West teams, and I said I believe that Houston would make the playoffs.
You did.
At which point you said, wait, Houston? What about RSL? And I went, oh, yeah, I think you're right. I got to rethink these things. And I later retracted some of that stuff, redacted, whatever it is, on Facebook.
Withdrew?
I changed things up. Anyways, I took Houston out, and I did put RSL in there. I wish I had not done that because I think Houston is going to make the playoffs. That's my I Believe.
All right.
I don't think Seattle or RSL will make the playoffs.
Wow, that would be the first time in a long time that Seattle and RSL, two normal West Coast giants, would not make it. I think the playoffs would be better for it, though.
And by the way, I was happy for Sporting last night, but I kind of wanted RSL to be in that Open Cup final so that they could win it and make their way back to Champions League, just because of what they did with Monterrey back in 2011.
Absolutely. All right. Well, obviously that music, Simon, means that it is that time for us to bid you all adieu. We have been broadcasting to you live from South Milwaukee at Moran's Pub. If you're ever in South Milwaukee, look up Moran's Pub. Why not? Fun
and
little
stop
joint.
in.
Stop in. Get a pint.
They'll have a relaunch, if you remember from our conversation with James, in October. They're going to be another one of those soccer pubs that we love to have here in the greater Milwaukee area.
I'm going to probably be a frequent flyer, if that's what, I don't know, frequent sitter, frequent drinker.
I wouldn't go with frequent drinker. That may
I'm not
negative
I
connotations
don't have
there.
a problem. I am well aware of my drinking. Anyway, remember, though, you can listen to us on Fridays on Sports Radio America from 3 to 6 Eastern, live 365 and tune in. And you can listen to us on demand anytime, no matter where you are, in the car, on the soccer field, in the bathtub, no matter where, on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, and on iTunes as well. And on social media, we are at 2UpFront Soccer on Twitter, 2UpFront on Facebook, and at Baxter Colburn at Simon Provan. Special thanks to James Moran and Moran's Pub, but also Latte Ziba as well for coming on during our hometown spotlight. Any final thoughts, Simon?
My computer is still not working.
Simon and his computer both need a nice long nap. Or just sleep in general. So thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of 2 Up Front with our manager being the one above. We are 2 Up Front.